Hey guys, welcome to another fun video from F1 News. Today we're going to talk about what might happen to Lewis Hamilton in the future. Lewis has won 7 world championships, which is amazing. After the crazy 2021 season ending, lots of people wondered if Lewis would keep racing. But his team boss Toto Wolff and Lewis himself promised fans they would come back and try to beat everyone. So far, we know that the 2022 season has been really bumpy for Mercedes, and I mean that literally, because their car bounces a lot. Right now, Lewis is in 6th place, behind Carlos from Ferrari and just 2 points ahead of Lando Norris, who's catching up fast. After fighting for wins for 8 years straight, this isn't where Lewis or his team thought he'd be right now, but here's the thing. George Russell, who's Lewis's teammate, is doing a really good job with the same car, and is actually doing better than Lewis. This makes us wonder, will this change what Lewis decides to do? If things stay this way for the rest of the season, will the guy who has won 103 races think about taking a break or maybe even stopping racing forever? We'll try to answer that question, but first, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss any of our videos. This season has been the worst for Mercedes since 2014, they're third in the team championship, with McLaren about 80 points behind them. But Mercedes is way too far back to fight against Ferrari and Red Bull for the top spots. It seems like the silver cars are all alone this year. Before the season started, team boss Toto Wolff was really excited about their new car design with no side parts that they showed off at testing in Bahrain. The first race was lucky for Mercedes because both Red Bull cars broke down, but it was clear that Mercedes wasn't going to fight for the championship. This was mainly because their car had a bouncing problem called porpoising, since then finishing. 4th or 5th has been their best hope, with maybe a lucky 3rd-place finish. The bouncing was really obvious and hard to fix. Lewis got knocked out in the first part of qualifying in Saudi Arabia, while his teammate George qualified 6th. If that wasn't bad enough, Lewis had one of his worst weekends ever at Imola. After qualifying, people saw a frustrated Lewis arguing with an upset Toto Wolff. He started the main race in 14th place after the sprint race, and he finished the wet race in the same spot where he started. To make things even worse, Max Verstappen, who beat Lewis for the 2021 title and is leading this year's championship, actually lapped Lewis during the race. After the race on the radio, Toto said sorry for giving Lewis a car that was impossible to drive properly. Miami felt a bit better with some car improvements, but the race weekend in Spain was probably Lewis's best driving so far this season. He started in 6th place but got hit by Magnussen on the first lap. Lewis couldn't see any way to move up, so he asked his team to stop his car and save the engine. But his race engineer Peter Bonington told Lewis he could still get points, and this turned out to be great advice. We got to see the old Lewis Hamilton magic as he dropped down to 9th place but fought back to 5th, which should have been 4th if he hadn't risked his engine breaking. He did all this without any help from safety cars. Lewis was driving as fast as the race leaders, and if he hadn't been hit at the start, he might have been fighting to win the race. In Monaco, Lewis struggled all weekend with the bouncing problem and finished 8th, which was just okay. Now let's talk about George Russell. The guy who used to drive for Williams is the only driver to finish every race in the top 5 this season, and he's gotten 3rd place twice, in Spain and Australia. Even though he got lucky sometimes, there's no denying that George has been doing better than Lewis in these first races. The 7-time champion doesn't seem as confident as his British teammate in the same car. With 84 points, George is 4th in the standings, ahead of Carlos Sainz. People are calling George Mr. Sunday now because Russell is able to get more out of the car than it should give. He even led the Spanish race for a while, defending really well against the Dutch driver Max in a much faster car before Perez passed him. At Monaco again, he was able to adjust and get the best out of the car. When we compare Russell and Lewis head-to-head, George has been better than Lewis, but some of that is because Russell got lucky with safety car timing. If those lucky moments hadn't happened, the Mercedes teammates would be closer in points. Now, let's get to the big question. Will Lewis retire after this season? Toto Wolff has already talked about these rumors, saying, "I think he knows pretty Well, when it's time to retire. The Mercedes motorsport boss told Sky Sports that nobody can take away Lewis's legend status anymore, and they're there to give him a car that can win him an 8th title, whether it's this year or next year. Lewis's current contract with Mercedes goes until the end of the 2023 season. But recent rumors are saying that the Mercedes team principal has a backup plan with Nick de Vries to replace Lewis Hamilton if the most successful F1 driver decides to stop racing. When someone asked Lewis if he would keep racing until he was 40 years old, he simply replied, "Why should I stop?" The 37-year-old also said about his future, "Let's take this season. I probably won't win the title, but I feel the same joy of competing as when I started. Maybe one day I won't be able to handle the pressure anymore. I'll be tired, but that day hasn't come yet." Before Lewis teamed up with Valtteri Bottas, Mercedes had to deal with the spicy driving pair of Nico and Hamilton. Lewis had many fights with Nico, while the Finnish-British combination worked perfectly. In his first season, Lewis had to go toe-to-toe against Fernando Alonso, who was the defending champion at McLaren in 2007. It's safe to say that Hamilton has had his fair share of difficult teammates. With a fellow British driver in the other garage, Lewis seems to have a good working relationship. The Hamilton-Russell partnership is thought to be one of the best driver pairs on the grid. Both of them have said many times that they have no interest in competing for an average 5th-place finish and are working together to bring their team back to the top. So far, both sides of the garage have been sharing information. But the question is, will this still happen when Mercedes is fighting for championships? Will Russell or Lewis move over for the other one, or when there's a chance to win a championship, will they make selfish moves? Only time will tell. The upcoming race this weekend in Azerbaijan promises to be a very strong weekend for Mercedes if they can copy their performance from Spain after the updates. The Monaco track is demanding, and honestly, Mercedes has been struggling in slow-speed corners. Hamilton had to say this after the disappointing Monaco race. "We weren't very good in low speed in the last race." Anyway, in the race it was okay, but not on a single lap, so we expected it would be difficult here. The technical part at Baku is where drivers gain or lose the most time in qualifying. If the defending champions can set up the car well with the long straight parts and upgraded engines from Spain, the Silver Arrows might be fighting for their first win this season. Every race at Baku has been full of surprises, so we can't rule out a Mercedes 1-2 finish this year. A realistic goal, though, would be an earned 3rd-place finish. Since they already brought major upgrades 2 races ago, Mercedes isn't expected to upgrade their package right now. They firmly believe that the W13 car is a tough beast to handle. But if they get it right soon, we might see the British duo fighting for race wins. With Monaco being Mercedes' weakness done and their strongest tracks still to come like Silverstone, ruling out Hamilton so early in the season isn't fair. Along with Lewis, Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso have also been asked about their retirements. If these world champions do decide to retire, it would be the end of an unforgettable era, if not this year. Will Hamilton retire after his contract ends next year, or will he stay in the sport if Mercedes develops a championship-winning car again? Or if the racing gods have their say, will we see Lewis in red? It's exciting to think about what the future holds. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section at the bottom of the video. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again in another one of our F1 News videos.